Good morning to our viewers in Nigeria and across Africa. It's another beautiful day in Nigeria's federal capital city, Abuja, and it's the conversation on TOS Television Network. My name is Adesu Awasui.
And I am Merciful Ajinamo. Good morning.
Good morning, Merciful. How are you doing?
Good.
Did you sleep well?
I did, actually.
Okay.
How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Great.
All right, it's about that time where we bring you the quote of the day. Martin Luther King Jr. there saying, "Oil in the darkness, can you see the stars?" I mean, Merciful, what do you think about that one?
I really, first of all, when I saw the quote, I was like, okay, oil in the darkness, you can see the stars. But yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. It's only at night that, you look up and you see the stars and everything. So I think the symbolism there is, no matter what you're facing and everything, those dark spots, you should always look towards the light and know that there's something at the end of all what you're facing.
Exactly. So there's literally light at the end of the tunnel.
Definitely.
Okay. We move straight into developments across Africa, starting from Burkina Faso, where no fewer than 30 people were killed by gunmen in eastern Burkina Faso on Monday, according to government official Labidi Uba. The attack occurred in Cordial village in the Komanjari province near the border with Niger. TOS News gathered that 2 Spanish journalists and an Irish conversationalists were also killed by the jihadists a week ago. Uba said jihadists surrounded the village and went house to house, setting fire to them and killing people. Burkina Faso is one of the nations that is currently struggling to contain the spread of jihadists linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State, who have killed thousands and displaced more than 1 million people.
I think the issue of security is one that all African countries should focus on and make it a priority.
African countries. I think in most countries of the world, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But this has got to be the most inhumane thing ever. Going house to house and setting fire to it. The calculation, the deliberation. And it just begs the question, what do you really want? What do you want that's so much that it requires that lives have to be lost, for you to get it?
That's the question everyone is asking, actually, especially in Nigeria here.
Exactly. Wow.
Moving on to Uganda, where, the country passed a law on sexual offences. Uganda's parliament has passed an all-encompassing law on sexual offences. Some of the provisions in the old criminal law in the process were also abolished. The new law provides for the establishment of a national sexual offenders register in which anyone who is convicted of a sexual offence will have their name registered within 10 days of the court ruling. The Uganda government also introduced legislation on street harassment, public sexual assault, as well as harassment in professional settings for the first time. The new law also criminalizes child sex tourism and child sex work. At least 7 years imprisonment for anyone who shares digital explicit content on the internet and any social media platform is demanded by the new law. Activists have backed it up, saying this could have an impact on the target of revenge pornography in cases where such explicit content is shared from the victim's own account by the abuser. What do you think about this?
I think it's quite applaudable, but I think it took them too long to get here. I mean, it's 2021 and Uganda is just passing, sexual harassment law and law against sexual offences. And it's 2021, they're beginning to register, sex offenders and all of that stuff. I think it's taking African countries too long to actually see sexual crimes as like real crimes. I think it was last year or 2 years ago that Nigeria opened the sexual offenders list and Uganda is in it this year. How are you waiting to 2021 to criminalize sex offences?
Regardless, I really do think it's actually
it's
a
applaudable,
thing,
but
and everything.
Well, it's good that they finally got in there. Yes, but they had to wait too long.
Many people have suffered that sexual assault, especially at workplace. Getting favors in terms of and it's
even
really
schools,
and
sex
children. I really do know the register itemizes like names of people who have been found.
I think your name, your age, your passport, photograph, just your biodata and all of that stuff.
And you have access to that. Where whichever office you go into next, whatever.
Give them that.
You have to give them that. Look, yes, I'm an offender.
Yeah.
So they'll watch you in terms of child. If you have children close to you, they'll watch. And I think it's very, very very good.
It is very, very good. But I hope that people who, there's always the innocent people that are also raped into all of this. So you don't have innocent people registered as sexual offenders for life and all of that stuff. So there has to be like
everything
balance.
balanced.
Yes.
Definitely.
All right, moving away from that to here in, I think, Nigeria, where the Senate has postponed its proposed meeting with service chiefs, the Director General of the National Intelligence Agency and the Inspector General of Police to Thursday. This was disclosed by the Senate President Ahmed Lawan at plenary on Tuesday. Lawan said the security chiefs who are supposed to brief the Senate are still engaged at the National Security Council meeting, which may extend till Wednesday. The Senate late Tuesday, after an exhaustive debate, resolved to invite the heads of the nation's armed forces and other security agencies over the deteriorating security situation in the country. So technically we're still at meeting phase. It's supposed to be an implementation phase. But we're still at meeting phase. Looking at, I think I'm taking this whole thing personally, but
of course,
looking at the way things are going,
everyone should take
with
it
the deteriorating state that it is now, with the constant sadness, constant killing, constant abduction, we're still at meeting phase. Wow, okay.
Whatever they need to do, let them just do it, okay?
I thought we had got past all of that. We already have strategies and all that. We're looking at implementing. So if we're still at the phase where we're meeting and then briefing and this is what's
it's pretty much like a back and forth movement. Meeting, having strategies, tactics, and still, we're still having gunmen invade different communities and everything. So I really do hope out of all of this meeting is going to according to the report ends today, let's get some things that will make sure that this security issue is being trashed out.
Exactly.
Talking about finance in Nigeria, budget reveals loopholes, call for transparency in Nigeria's 2021 budget. A civic tech organization, Budget, has advocated for transparency and accountability in public finance in Nigeria. It asks the government to audit security spending and close gaps for corruption in its budget process. Budget CEO Gabriel Okeowo, in a statement obtained by TOS News titled "Demanding Budget Reforms for Resources Optimization," said 2021 has been a tough year as regards security in the country, despite an allocation of over 10.02 trillion naira to security in the space of 2015 and 2021. Okeowo called for scrutiny on how allocations are being spent as he pointed to the 2021 budget that mapped out 1.97 trillion naira to the entire security sector. They showed an increase in 14% from the 1.74 trillion naira that was in the previous year. He pointed out that agencies receive allocations for capital projects they cannot execute, giving reference to the National Agriculture Seed Council that has an allocation for 400 million naira to construct solar streetlights across all 6 geopolitical zones, while the Federal College of Forestry in Ibadan, Oyo State, has an allocation of 50 million naira for the construction of streetlights in Edo State.
I mean, that's technically what everyone has been asking for, accountability.
Yeah, we have monies, we're not seeing the projects and everything.
So it's okay, you want to approve projects, you want to do whatever. Okay, but let's see it. Let's that the money is allocated for this particular project is used for this particular project, and then we don't over budget.
Yeah.
Do you understand that? Like, this is supposed to cost 10 million naira, you're costing it for 20 million.
That's where corruption comes in.
Exactly. So you're supposed to see all of that accountability, all of that transparency, and I think that's basically what every Nigerian is looking for.
Definitely, that's what we're looking for. That's what we're expecting.
Exactly. Okay. Having said that, we'll that wraps up this segment of the conversation, and just about now we'll bring you COVID-19 update from across Africa.
TOS TV Network mobile app is now available. You can now catch up on our breaking news, stream our programs live, watch out for the latest update on sports and politics as they unfold. You can also get notifications for our upcoming programs and events. All these on our TOS TV Network mobile app, available on Apple Store and Google Play Store. TOS TV News from Africa by Africans.
Being a journalist means in-depth analysis that unravels hidden truths, that question the status quo and fact-checks government.
These criminal elements hiding under the cloak of surveillance contractors are the APC elements.
Do you have facts to prove that? Being a journalist means waking up every day with a burning desire for peace, equity, and justice for all citizens.
We're being told that the choice you have is to take the lesser of two evils.
It means patriotism via the prism of objectivity and accountability. It means giving my platform to the masses to discuss issues that matter to them.
Some of them, if they bring budget, and the budget they look. Some of them sleep. They're going to ask how much we are on. I have it.
Thereby shaping government policies and laws. My name is Osasu Igbeneghu, and I am the People's Journalist.
Welcome back to the conversation showing on your digital first Pan-African news network, 2S Television. And that was the COVID-19 update from across Africa. Don't forget, you should always stay protected and make sure you're observing all the protocols and guidelines that your country has to offer. It's that time where we'll bring you the newspaper review segment of the show. But before that, like I always say, don't forget you can be a part of it, part of the show, by following us across all our social media platforms at TOS TV Network on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and of course live stream our program on our website www.tostvnetwork.com. Don't forget you can also subscribe on YouTube so you don't miss out on our amazing content. It's that time I'll bring you some headlines from across some of our national newspaper daily for this morning. We begin with Blueprint from the very top. INEC begins verification of polling unit expansion. And the writer underneath that story says promises to eliminate congestion. That can be found on page 6. And Senate panel orders CCT chair to defend assault petition. And that particular story can be found on page 14. Just besides that, you see massive shake-up in GT Bank as race for new CEO hots up. And that can be found on page 24. The very conspicuous headline here says, lie on Greenfield Varsity forestry abductions. Federal government, Kaduna government, working to secure students' freedom. We have a couple of riders underneath. The first says, accuses PDP of politicizing insecurity, says kidnapping, banditry, not federal offenses. Reps weighed in as one varsity student released. And that can be found on page 5. Military warns personnel against mutiny. And then the last rider, religious political leaders trying to destabilize Nigeria, coming from presidency. All of that can be found on page 6 of the Blueprint newspaper. Underneath the pictures of the day there, we are talking about insecurity. Amotekun dislodges 137 illegal occupants from Ondo Forest. And that can be found on page 20. Man, age 52, arrested for defiling 10-year-old girl daughters in Ogun State. A very sad story that can be found on page 8. 3 Ngangan cattle breeders regain freedom after 6 million naira ransom. And that can be found on page 14. Talking about Blueprint, double milestones for a tabloid and its publisher. And that can be found on page 17. The last headline coming from the federal government says, we overfunded Operation Lafia Dole. And that can be found on page 20 of the Blueprint newspaper.
All right, moving away from the Blueprint to the Business Day newspaper. From the very top there where you see the Business Day Market Monitor. And to the main headline on the Business Day this morning, while NNPC forages for cash, its peers record bumper earnings. And then just beside that one, First Bank, still as strong as the elephant. That's continued on page 31. And then inside the Business Day newspaper on page 29, Mbawike, deconstructing Nigeria's insecurity challenges. These are the stories inside, the Business Day newspaper this morning.
And moving over to the Daily Trust newspaper from the very top, federal government moves to cut workers' salaries. That can be found on page 4. Military got 1 trillion naira in 28 months, coming from Finance Minister. And the very obvious headline there says, discordant tunes over coup alarm. And we have a couple of riders, disgruntled elements plotting to remove Buhari, coming from presidency, claimed by Villa Diversionary, coming from Afenifere, NEF, and Pandev. Military wants officers, politicians, PDP to president. You're haunted by your shadows. And then the last rider says, Afe Babalola donates 50 million naira to fund emergency national conference. That can be found on page 5. Underneath the picture of the day, where we see parents of abducted students protesting at National Assembly in the Federal Capital Territory of Abuja yesterday, where 19 headers killed in Anambra. That's a question that can be, the details of that can be found on page 3 of the Daily Trust newspaper. APC exams for local government poll. PhD holder protest disqualification. That can be found on page 40. Gunmen abduct Kogi Macban chairman. And we can see the details of that on page 6. And Hisbah fires commander caught in hotel with a married woman. And that particular story can also be found on the Daily Trust newspaper. All of this can be found on Daily Trust newspaper for today.
And inside the Daily Times newspaper, the first headline there says, give account of 10 trillion security allocation, PDP challenges Buhari. That's on page 5 of the Daily Times newspaper. And then the main headline on this daily says, presidency, PDP trade words over alleged plot to topple Buhari's administration. You can find that story on page 2 of the Daily Times. And then underneath the picture of the day, deployment, insecurity, IGP deploys new CP to Imo, 5 others affected. That story is on page 2. And then on secret withdrawal, 7.5 billion naira secret withdrawal. We don't have any document. Ministry of Finance tells Senate. That's on page 3 of the Daily Times. And then the last story, which you can find on page 6 of the Daily Times newspaper. On killings, Buhari condemns killings in Benue, Anambra, cautions against reprisal. Those are the stories, the headlines on the Daily Times newspaper.
The last national daily for this morning is the Nigerian News Direct. And the very first headline there says, INEC commences nationwide verification of polling units expansion, coming from the INEC chairman. That can be found on page 2. Just besides that, UBA wins Bank of the Year at Independent Newspapers Award. And that can be found on page 3. Kidnapping, banditry, not a federal offense. Federal government replying PDP. And that can be found on page 21. The very obvious headline there says, presidency alleges plot to overthrow Buhari, fingers religious leaders, politicians, PDP mocks presidency. That can be found on page 21. ICPC uncovers 315 duplicated project of 39.5 billion naira in 2021 budget. We can get that stories on page 2 of the News Direct. Talking about Tokyo Olympics, put Nigeria among medal nations. Chief Dare warning. That's the National Minister for Youth and Sport Development. That can be found on page 3. Senate urges Buhari to provide 5-year post-COVID intervention for disabled Nigerians. That can be found on page 10. Just under the picture of the day there, Southeast Security, IGP redeploys Imo Police Commissioner, 5 others. Dangote Cement, major contributor to Senegal's economic development, coming from the Envoy. Then the last headline, Nasarawa government hails NYSC for combating COVID-19. That particular story can be found on page 2 of the Nigerian News Direct. I think the story that caught my attention the most was the fact that federal government planning to cut the salaries of workers. I do not know how Nigerians begin to fare. A couple of days ago, we were talking about this issue on the show here, and we said, look, we're talking about inflation, talking about hiking prices and everything, and still, we're still trying to manage all of that with the current salaries they have. And now we're talking about reducing the salaries. So the question now remains, how do Nigerians cope?
Exactly, because you're reducing salaries, but we still have inflation, we still have hikes in food prices. It begs the question of, do they actually care about the people? Because we have to have governments that care about it, that care deeply about its people. I think when we begin to see, government, public figures, all those people that care deeply about the people, then we'll begin to see, improvement in the livelihoods of citizens, improvement. Because you cannot be cutting my salary and then inflation is still rising and then it's hiking full prices. And then what I actually used to earn that you want to cut from is not even enough to meet up to all of this. And then you're looking at slashing it. Where do you want me to start?
Even in the country, we're still talking about trying to, make sure the national minimum wage cuts across all of the states and everything.
Which is not even enough.
I'm telling you the fact, even look at America. We had President by Biden talking about workers' welfare. He increased it, and people are like, "Oh, this is a good one."
Yeah.
But yeah, we keep here in Nigeria, it's a different thing
At a time
altogether.
like this, where we're looking at for how to, grow the economy, I understand that maybe they're trying
Yeah,
to
there are reasons,
measures,
of-
to help
of
boost the
course.
economy and all of that stuff. Or
But
maybe
still,
there's no money on
the
ground.
welfare.
But
There's no money on ground.
There's probably no money on ground. I really wouldn't know. I think probably I have to read up on that one to actually understand and see why they actually wanted to cut.
Definitely.
But I don't think that's the best step to
No,
take.
no.
I don't
We
think
do not
that's
think
good.
so. That's the much you can take on the newspaper review segment of the Conversation Show this morning. We'll go on a quick break, and when we return, Adesua Osuyi will be taking you through social media trends. Just stay.
Welcome back. It's still the conversation, and it's about that time where I bring you what has been trending on social media for the last 24 hours. But before we get into all of that, as I always say, as is my custom, follow TOS TV Network on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and also subscribe on YouTube so you don't miss out, because you can't be left behind, right? And also you can stream the conversation on other programs on www.tostvnetwork.com. Okay, let's get back into what has been trending, on social media for the last 24 hours. Sheikh Gumi, Sheikh Gumi, the Islamic cleric who has been some sort of third party between the government and, terrorists and bandits in Nigeria, has been trending on social media for the last 24 hours. He has consistently been seen making, a case for bandits and on the insecurity situation in Nigeria. He seems to know the plight of the bandits and seems to know why they're doing what they're doing and what they want and all of that stuff. So he goes around, national television and everything, just talking about making cases, for bandits and terrorists in the country. And I think his latest case for them has sparked conversation on social media. So I'm going to read out a few tweets in that regard for you. The first one is from Fisayo Shoyombo. No matter how he disguises it, this Gumi is a kidnap apologist. Otherwise, what bandits don't live a luxury life. They live in huts. They have nothing. They drink from the stream. The innocent people being kidnapped, do they all live in mansions? Do they have everything? And then this is from a Dr. Olufemilayo. He says, Sheikh Gumi knows where bandits are, but the Nigerian army doesn't. Sheikh Gumi knows where bandits live, that they live in huts, but the Nigerian army doesn't know this. Sheikh Gumi knows the bandits drink from the streams, but the Nigerian army doesn't know. Isn't God wonderful? And then this is from Advan Bismarck. He says, on AIT, the interviewer asked Sheikh Gumi that, if the bandits are under so much pressure, why don't they stop kidnapping? He answered that if they, that's the bandits, leave banditry, they won't have a source for financing their war machine. How this man is still free worries me. And then the last tweet is from Art, the only 1 acre. She says, Sheikh Gumi is a very dangerous man. He's brazenly making a case for bandits on national television. My people, it's not swell, but Nigeria is currently at par with Yemen. The last straw should be these bandits asking for a ministerial position. It is possible.
That's a very sad, funny, and sarcastic comment.
Very sarcastic, but I think I reason with her. The rate at which it's going, it's possible. Because we're seeing beginning to negotiate, beginning to talk about, okay, what do they want? Oh, this cannot happen. They could come out and say, look, just give us a seat in the National Assembly or whatever. We also want to be part of the decision-making processes. We also want to be part of what... It has happened in other countries. It happened in Yemen. So we can see it happen, right? Because I'm beginning to, personally, this is personal to me, I don't think we're looking at just bandits and kidnappers. We're looking at terrorists and terrorist organizations. There's no limit to what they can do. And we have one man who knows where they are, who knows what they want, who understands their plight supposedly, he knows they live in heart, and who understands that, look, if these people stop what they're doing, they will be able to afford whatever life that they want to live. And this man is still running.
And you know, it was on the show yesterday that we were talking about all of this, you know, trying for Nigerians to, you know, look for alternative means if the ones that they have been using is not working. And we did raise the question that, look, countries that are doing well, that are saying they do not negotiate with terrorists, they have been doing well so far in fighting these issues.
Yeah.
So we negotiating with terrorists, like the point you raised, it's raising that
yeah, because they feel like they have
doubt
you.
that, look, okay,
Yeah.
if these people can come to negotiate, that means we can tell them this is what we need. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Negotiating means coming to terms, both parties coming to a balance and say,
balance
oh,
and equilibrium.
this is what you
Okay,
want,
we'll give you
get
this
it.
and then,
Is
yeah.
what. So if they keep doing this, it's a bad news for Nigeria as a country. If you
Yes,
ask me.
because I feel as though when you start negotiating with them, it shows that, oh, we don't have any other option. But when you saying we're not going to have to negotiate with anybody, that is not even on the table, then you begin to, you know, measure up, you begin to put things in place. Look at, we don't have any other option. Negotiation is off the table, so we have to do things, put things in place to ensure that we don't even have to get back to that part where we start looking at negotiating with them. How do you come on national television and say, look, if these people, you know, don't get, they stop kidnapping or they don't get the funds that they're asking for, then they won't be able to afford their war machines, or they don't live luxury lifestyle? What's supposed to care about that?
Do you know another side's angle of all of this? There are still some Nigerians who really believe that everything that can be done should be done if they have their children in their families.
Exactly.
So if negotiations can work, if negotiations have worked in Nigeria, there are people that will be like, look, let's allow him to negotiate. I just need my people. It's a very sad state for Nigeria.
That's the thing. But
do you understand?
The thing is, I don't feel as though the negotiations are working. We see them negotiating and then they keep increasing the power. Okay, you give us 50 million. Okay, we're raising it to 100 million naira. If you don't give us 100 million naira, we're going to kill these varsity students. They got 55 million naira. That was from negotiation, right? And now they're moving it up to 100 million naira. They're saying, I think it was in Niger State that they had to negotiate with them that, look, you have to keep paying some sort of royalty or whatever, so that we both can live in peace in this state that we have come, you know, to claim territory over. Negotiation doesn't work. We've seen that
In a
with
holistic
militants
view,
and all of that stuff. We have to not look beyond negotiation. Okay, I know Sheikh Gumi is probably not a criminal. It probably doesn't have a criminal record, so they cannot arrest him and say, but this is a matter of national security. You have information that even the Nigerian military supposedly doesn't have. So there's some, if they, I don't know, I wouldn't say they should arrest him.
The real
but they should
essence
be able
of
to use
peace
him.
negotiation is,
Yes.
so when the bandits kidnap and say, look, you have to pay this money to force to free these people, is them asking for what they want. Peace negotiation is coming to the table and saying, look, we cannot pay you this amount. How can the government support you?
And then they cannot
that's
ask
what
for
the real
a
essence
seat
of
in
peace
the
negotiation
ministerial
is.
They cannot ask for a ministerial position in that part.
No, it's not possible. They're
It
terrorists.
is possible. It is possible. I think it was
happens because it happens in Yemen.
one of the service chiefs. I think I saw a video of one of the service chiefs one time. So I don't know how long ago was the video, and it was saying, look, if these terrorists can, you know, turn over their arm and then become repentant and turn over their ways,
That's
they
part
have
of
the
it.
right
Yes, they have the
to
right
actually
to contest
for
elections.
elections and
I'm like,
occupy
yeah,
political
it's part of the law of
positions.
controversy.
Somebody that had, wow, okay, all right. Okay, that's the much that we can take on this segment of the conversation. I would like to know what you think about this one actually. So just drop your comments on our social media platforms. That's TOS TV Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All right, okay, so we'll go on a break now. And when we come back, it's time to bring you the big story.
A big thank you for staying tuned to the conversation showing on your digital first Pan-African news network, 2S Television. It's that time we'll bring you the crux of the show, the big story, talking about education and technology. The evolution of technology has impacted every aspect of our lives, from banking to the way that we communicate with each other. In fact, technology has become an integral part of sustaining society, and its infusion with education is therefore inevitable. Technology not only provides students with access to countless online resources, but also aids them in the learning process. The importance of technology in education is undoubtedly the ability to reach more students more efficiently. After all, technology is all around us and only continues to expand in its many uses. Now, the thing is, how does Nigeria as a country, we've always had different topics bordering on technology and how we can, work in our education sector. We had the issue of COVID-19. It hit us very well. We had people, going to virtual learning and all of that. How do we now make sure that everyone, meaning everyone in the country, utilizes technology as a tool for education?
I think basically we have to first of all look at where we are as a country in terms of education for technology, because as you said, I think COVID-19 kind of really opened us to lots of lapses that we have in the system across borders, across different sectors, different systems. But education was one of the most sector that was heavily dealt with. Do you understand? Because students had to be home for the longest time possible. Even when people resumed work and people started going to work again, we still have to have them at home. And then that kind of just hampered on the whole level of education. It just showed the lapses that we had that, look, if we had actually, digitalized education for the longest time possible, maybe we wouldn't have gotten here. Other countries were able to move faster than us because they just went, digital with it. Because like when we couldn't do person-to-person classrooms all over the world, everything went online, everything went digital, but Nigeria was lagging. And we have lots of rural people who live in the rural area. So even though we had some persons in the urban settings who, just went online with education, schooling online, using, I think, Zoom and all of that stuff, to continue learning and continue classes, we had a huge gap in people in the rural setting because they couldn't even jump on it.
That's what I was going to say. Like access to this technology is an issue.
Some of them didn't even know how to use it because even when resources were taken to them, we had people in the private sector who decided that, okay, we're going to give you maybe learning materials and all that stuff. They had to start learning how to use them. Do you understand? So I think it just kind of opened up the lapses that we had, and I think that has been sorted out to an extent. And like we saw, people were taught how to use it. Classes went online. So even when school resumed, it was easy to, even exams were taken online. So first of all, we just have to look at where we are at now as a country in terms of tech for education or digitalizing education before we now talk about how to now leverage the resources that I have or everything that we have to actually just improve on our educational system. But I think technology will play an integral part in improving Nigeria's education system.
You see, when I was younger, there's compulsory JAMB examination, Joint Admission Matriculations Board examination, where you have to write before you go to the university.
Yeah, the computer-based.
There was this talk then that was it possible? I think this issue of technology has always been on the forefront of our topics on different shows and everything, but still, we're looking at a situation where if all of this is possible, if you can be at your home and write an examination, other problems would arise. Problems such as corruption, exam malpractice and everything. How do they, it's a long process. There's a process of, introducing this tech to the country, the process of learning, the process of using it. Then what about all of the fallouts that we have from all of this? How would you start to manage it?
There's always going to be that. I think that's now a systemic error. And now we're having to, have the system, those who are in charge of the system, control the system, ensure that, look, we do not have to get to this part or this doesn't happen, right? So for us, we have to actually just get to the part where we have all of this on ground first. Not necessarily, in as much as, going digital with education, learning online is actually, the first step. I think we have moved, or we need to have moved from that. We now have, tech in the classrooms, maybe using tech to teach, students in the classroom. What's this thing called now? Some sort of drawing. I don't know what it is called. Even having, I think, virtual reality. You can use virtual reality for learning too. Having them in the not physically in the classroom, but having to, everybody is feeling as though, look, we're in this space. You could have, especially for kids. I think I know corporations who have decided to digitalize learning for kids and make it a lot more fun and a lot more interesting. And with that, they can easily, they're retentive. They can easily remember. Because I think kids learn better when when it's fun for them. I think I'm one of those persons, even as an adult, I don't really like the basic kind of learning where you just have to just sit and just turn and just read. It has to be fun. Probably, I think that's what, maybe drawings, paintings, all of that stuff. I'm an adult, but I still love to learn like that. Do you understand that kind of thing? So we have to have, you know, technological advancement where we can just make learning fun for people, both, you know, as people's primary, secondary school, even the higher institution.
Yeah, on one of my shows, Tech Freak, you know, I touched base with a tech firm, and I saw the good things that tech can do.
Yes, exactly.
In improving you know the learning processes, and helping them to, you know, get used to it and everything. But the thing is, in this country, in Nigeria, if you visit 5 schools, how many of those schools can you say have the number of computers that the students would need?
Yes.
Because that's another thing. It's one thing to have schools who have these computers, and another thing to say, oh, how many students can use it? How do they rationalize it? And learning is a process.
Yes.
Yeah? So if you're having a school of like 300 people, and you're having a computer set like 20 sets, how are they going to, like, you know, the syllabus and everything? It's because growing up, it was something like, it was a ration. If this class is using it, the other class is not using it. And I'm like, okay, when do we get to that level where access to these things are like just very smooth?
Access also mean affordability, because how many people can afford to send
That's
their
another
words,
question.
you know, to fully computer-based schools that fully equipped, like probably have one pupil or one student to a computer system and all of that stuff. How many people can afford that?
True.
So that also we also have to look at all of that. So across border, the affordability, also internet issues is internet
data,
is one of
the cost
most
of data
expensive,
and everything.
in Nigeria. And then we still have to battle, you know, slow internet and all of that stuff, you know, for downloads, for uploads. Learning wouldn't even be fun when you cannot even maybe access the internet, because, well,
definitely
you have poor network interception and all of that stuff. So there's a lot of systemic error, and there's a lot that we still need to put in place as a country to actually, you know, before we actually say, oh, wait, we can actually digitalize.
Because we definitely need to digitalize education.
Yes, we have to. And I know that there are measures in place, there are things that, you know, the government has been doing, but there's still so much to be done to actually get up to par with, you know, other countries of the world. I mean, I think it was during the COVID time that even while we're looking at, say, how do we have children going to school? We had children in Asia who were already building pupils, primary school pupils who were building robots for learning. And in my head, I was like, wait, okay.
Is this happening? When would Africa be a part of it?
Yes, exactly. So we have to, you know, do stuff to actually get to that part where we can say our pupils or our students can actually measure up with their counterparts in other parts of the world.
All right, that's the much you can take. Thank you so much, Dayswa.
Yes, I think I was a guest on the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget you can be a part of the community by following us across all our social media handles on our pages, TOS TV Network, and Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course our website, www.tostvnetwork.com. And please do not forget to subscribe on YouTube. That is TOS TV Network, so you do not miss out on all our lineups that we have for you. Thank you again. I am Merciful Ajinamo.
And my name is Adesua Osui. Thank you again and good morning.